The play-in tournaments have begun, and I'm still laughing because we're recording right after that debacle of a Lakers and Timberwolves game that no one wanted to win. We'll break that down. Plus, the Atlanta Hawks upset the Miami Heat, but are the Hawks looking to maybe trade Trae Young? It's all right now on the Locked On NBA podcast.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yeah, Wednesday. Yeah, play-in tournament. The postseason has begun as we get ready for the playoffs, and we're very lucky to be covering that right here on the Wednesday podcast, and we're your regular Wednesday hosts. I'm John Karalis, host of the Locked On Celtics podcast. Find me on Twitter at John_Karalis.
And I'm Jake Madison, host of the Locked On Pelicans podcast. I'm on Twitter. It's at Nola Jake. I am pumped to be here with you. It is 1:06 a.m. your time, 12:06 my time. We are actually in Wednesday now after, look, man, I loved that game. Loved it.
Just going to say, you're one of the, that meme that goes around, sickos? Like,
that's literally me right now.
You are the sicko that enjoyed. I think 4 baskets were scored in 45 minutes at the end of that game. It was gross. It was ugly. The Lakers won eventually because the Timberwolves just, ran out of gas, just completely sucked. But everybody sucked in that at the end. But you're sitting there just chomping away on popcorn and loving it. Well, you loved the Lakers moving on to the 2-7 matchup against the Memphis Grizzlies. I would not be happy if I'm a fan of either team. If I'm a Lakers fan right now, you're like, okay, we survived that mess. But the Lakers did everything they can to lose that game. They turned the ball over in clutch situations. We could sit here and say, Jake, that matchups are going to be different and against Memphis and this and that, but so much of what they did wrong had nothing to do with the matchups. They just made horrible inbounds passes. They just made horrible decisions. The foul by Anthony Davis had nothing to do with the matchup. He just was reckless in a contest with 0.1 left on the clock, and the game was over. And you made your team play 5 more minutes of basketball to win a game. I don't know. I come out of this feeling just bad. I just feel ill. If I'm a Memphis Grizzlies fan, I'm looking at that Lakers team going, oh yeah.
Oh, you're salivating. Salivating.
Yeah, doesn't matter who's hurt. Just give me that team, because I tell you what, that Grizzlies team with the turnovers that the Lakers were committing in this game, oh my God, they'd win by 30.
So before we say anything about that game, today's episode of Locked On NBA brought to you by HelloFresh. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. Go to HelloFresh.com/NBA60 and use code NBA60 for 60% off plus free shipping. See, you're a little excited too.
This is Jake picking up a teammate. You know?
And thank you for making Locked On NBA your first listen today and every day. We're covering all the craziness, staying up past 1 a.m. here.
I just wanted to dive into this podcast, man.
No, look, you know what that game looked like? Two teams that might not have been in the playoffs playing each other. That looked like a 7 versus 8 seed, which is exactly what it was. And that's what it's designed to do. I love it. I love the play-in tournament, not because the team that I cover is now in it again, and it lets me get a couple of extra shows in here, and I'm excited to be in the Smoothie King Center tonight for that game. It's just like a stupid, fun basketball game that has stakes to it, where normally if we were watching the stupid, fun basketball game at the end of the season, we just wouldn't care and we wouldn't stay up till 1 a.m. to watch this. And we all get to lose our collective minds about how stupid and fun this game was. And I enjoy it. It's a community building. It brings people together. And yeah, if we want to look at this from an objective basketball standpoint, oh my God, the Memphis Grizzlies are like, give me either one of those two teams. And if you're And if you're the Minnesota Timberwolves who lost this game and now host the winner of the Pelicans Thunder game, you're looking at that being like almost disappointed, I think, right? You had Karl-Anthony Towns who gave you like that was the most Karl-Anthony Towns game you've ever seen. He can shoot, he can score, and also commits dumb fouls. And in the fourth quarter, in overtime, whenever they got a switch on him, he'd be matched up with Dennis Schroeder and wouldn't call for the ball, wouldn't try and post him up or do anything to take advantage of that mismatch. I don't know how he didn't foul out, and that's probably more on coaching malpractice from Darvin Ham and the Lakers, them not attacking him. But you look at that, you also have Anthony Edwards, who just did
nothing
in this game. You look at that if you're the Timberwolves, and it just feels like, yep, that is a Timberwolves performance in arguably their biggest game of the season.
Yeah, this does nothing to remove any stigma from Karl-Anthony Towns. You can look at the numbers and say, hey, man, what are you talking about? 24 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, but I mean, nothing in the fourth quarter, nothing in overtime. He did nothing. That's supposed to be a spot where he takes over. And you can argue that maybe he got subbed in a little too early with the 4 fouls, but that's you. First of all, awareness. You got to be aware of your surroundings when you got the foul trouble. And second of all,
that 5th one was so dumb.
Bad. That was a bad foul. And then where are you down the stretch? Are you a franchise player? Are you a go-to guy? Where are you when the team hadn't scored since the 6-minute mark? They went half the fourth quarter without scoring. Where are you, Karl-Anthony Towns? Doing nothing, not finding the matchup. And we can say, guys were tired and all of that stuff, but I mean, come on.
It's a do or die game. It's a game 7, essentially. Like, I don't care if you're tired. Like, you got Dennis Schroeder on you. You can't call for the ball and try and post him up. Like, are you kidding me when it comes to something like that? Right. On the flip side of this, you look at the Lakers. How are you going to let Karl-Anthony Towns stay in that game with 5 fouls and no one attack him? Especially, this is going to get me some in trouble here. You had the refs maybe calling it a little bit in your favor because you're the Lakers, right? Literally, the only free throws in the second half of that game that the Minnesota Timberwolves got were the Mike Conley 3 at the end of the game, which, by the way, that first free throw he took where it hit the front of the rim and then like just rolled in, like the drama there, man. You're going to tell me you were living in the moment right there? Oh, it was great.
Oh, man. If he had missed that first one, it would just have been so disappointing. But no, it made the most sense for him to actually hit that and then send it to overtime so we can get more stupidity in there.
And now this Timberwolves team gets the pleasure of welcoming Rudy Gobert back into the locker room.
Oh, yeah. That's just beautiful. What a mess. What a mess. I can't we haven't even touched on that. I mean, guys touched on it yesterday, but the Timberwolves, I mean, this kind of encapsulates their whole season. So much promise, and then just a long stretch of just soiling themselves. And like I said, they ran out of gas. They probably could have been better. They should have won this game. They had this thing won, and they were up 5 with a few minutes to go in the fourth quarter. A couple minutes to go in the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
They just could not execute at all. And, they spent 3 quarters being just hitting every 3-pointer in the world, and then it all just went away. So
they got to hope that Anthony Edwards isn't hurt. He took that spill over Rui Hachimura, and man, his shoulder, I don't know, something. 3 is 17 in this game.
That's I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it'd be better for Minnesota to just lose, just be done with it. Someone
who might play them. That would be great.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of all I've got to say about the Timberwolves. I'm so disgusted by this. Congratulations to the Memphis Grizzlies. That's all. This is, look, the Lakers, they made it. They're the 7th seed. We spent a long time this season wondering if they were even going to make the playoffs, and they did. Now ESPN can spend a long time, gushing over them. And a bunch of people can pick them to beat the Memphis Grizzlies. They're not going to. I think the Grizzlies just can feast on the Lakers. Meanwhile, the Celtics, the team that I cover, are preparing for the Atlanta Hawks. I didn't see that coming. I thought it was going to be Miami. And so did basically most other people, and including everybody at ESPN. We'll talk about that next. First, today's show is brought to you by the Ultimate Pro Basketball GM. Super cool game where if you are somebody who thinks you can run an NBA franchise, go ahead, give it a shot at the Ultimate Pro Basketball GM. You control everything. You deal with challenging personalities from the coaches and the players. You got to hire the coaches. You got to trade players. You got to train them. You got to make your picks, and you got to handle the arena. You do everything, and you can lead your franchise to glory, or you can get stuck down in the muck like a team like the Minnesota Timberwolves. Who are you going to be? Check it out. In a challenging and realistic game world, it's Ultimate Pro Basketball GM. By the way, completely free and playable offline. You can play on the go as you want, when you want to. You, Locked On NBA listener, you get a 100% free boost to your franchise when you use the promo code Locked On in the game store. So make sure to check it out. Download the game at probasketballgm.com. Scan the code or look it up on the app stores. That's probasketballgm.com. Ultimate Basketball GM. Start your dynasty today. I want to thank everybody for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On Lakers. Go check out Locked On Timberwolves. They're going to have reactions. Also check out Locked On Hawks, Locked On Heat for reactions to this game, this play-in game, where the Hawks, Jake Madison, and by the way, I saw you operating the graphics. This is, you're just right there, man. You're right on top of it.
I'm fired up after these play-in games. I love the play-in tournament. It's 12-18, and I'm fired up. Like, I'm hitting on all cylinders here.
You're going to need a couple of bourbons to come down after this. You're excited.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, John, for giving me an excuse to have a couple of bourbons. All right. So the Hawks beat the Miami Heat, and this was a bit of a surprise for me, but really this came down to 22 offensive rebounds for the Hawks, and that got them 96 shots to 91 from Miami. And when you lose by 11, those extra 5 shots and 6 makes, there's your difference in the game. Second chance points, getting those put back. Not only were they getting the offensive rebounds, they were turning them into dunks time and time and time again. The Heat just didn't look, it almost looked like they thought they were going to roll right through Atlanta. Everybody on ESPN picked Atlanta to come into this game, and it seemed like everybody in the world, everybody in Boston was preparing. All the beat writers, all my colleagues were making our plans to go to Miami, and here's a bunch of people canceling trips to Miami and going to Atlanta. I think Miami might have bought into that a little bit, and by the time they tried to pull out of it, they just couldn't. They got a very atypical Jimmy Butler game. They didn't get much from Bam Adebayo at all. They couldn't hit a thing. It was just Miami just looking bad, and the Hawks outworking Miami.
That's the word. That's exactly what I was going to say. The Hawks came in on the road and completely outworked this Miami Heat team.
That is such a surprise.
It was shocking.
One thing you don't expect.
It was surprising, and it was from the get-go. It happened in the first quarter and basically continued throughout the entirety of the game. You mentioned the 22 offensive rebounds. They won second chance points 26-6. Like that's your game right there, pretty much. And a lot of those were just, I don't know, them working harder for them. And it was also because of that aggressive defense, I think, from the Miami Heat. They were trying to trap Trae Young at times. It takes a guy away from underneath the basket. So when a shot's missed, maybe there's a man advantage a little bit for the Atlanta Hawks. So it's partially their own doing. But at the same point, Bam Adebayo had virtually no impact in this game, it felt like. And for them to kind of get outworked by an Atlanta team like that with some rumors, which we'll get into in the next segment, swirling around them, I thought was pretty surprising. Their bench was good too. They came out and really set a tone with that, particularly in the first half where they had 3 guys in double figures off the bench, right? Bogdanovich was hitting shots. Saddiq Bey, who was basically just a castaway from Detroit, had 11 points in the first half. You had a Kongwu hitting shots too. Like when you get that kind of depth there, and the Miami Heat really don't have anything to kind of match with that, it's going to lead to something like this. And it also allowed the Atlanta Hawks, anytime the Miami Heat went on a run and Kyle Lowry got going, particularly in the second half with this 3-point shot more than anything, they had a couple of little runs. They had a nice little run there to end the first half, and the Atlanta Hawks responded every time. The Heat just couldn't get over that hump at any point in time. And that's why after they scored the first 2 points, they didn't have another lead in this game.
Yeah, that's the one thing you don't expect against the Miami Heat team. You always expect them to at least work hard.
Yeah, like
and
the hustle stuff.
Right. That was my thing from a Boston perspective. Now, Celtics are the second seed, and I was just banking on the Heat winning this game and banking on the Celtics having an annoying first-round series. Not that I thought that they could lose to Miami, but I just thought the way that team always plays, you just expect just an annoying street fight, the type of thing where like it's almost like a zombie. You got to get them in the brain or else they're not going to stop coming at you. And to see them kind of meekly go down here, it was weird to see. And I mean, I don't know what else to make of it. I don't know what Miami's doing here, but hey, they still have a chance to get that 8th seed, but there was no kind of like coasting in the their regular season was very indicative of what we saw here. There was nothing not like anything with the Warriors where I think a lot of us with the Warriors are just saying, yeah, the regular season almost doesn't apply to them. The regular season very much applied to the Miami Heat.
Yeah, I'm not too sure they're totally worried about the winner of the Bulls and the Toronto Raptors game. That's, they'll have
Sure.
They shouldn't take them lightly, but those are two, literally it's like Lakers and Timberwolves, right? It's kind of what this play-in tournament is. You had the Heat though outshoot the Atlanta Hawks from 3. They outshot them from the free throw line. Atlanta shot terribly from there, and they only had 8 turnovers, and they still lost this game.
But you're right, percentage-wise. But 16 made free throws, 16 made free throws. 10 made three-pointers for the Hawks, 11 for the Miami Heat. So, yes, percentage-wise, you're 100% correct. The percentages look out of whack.
Well, no, it just means Atlanta should have won by more.
They should have won by more. That's right.
Significantly more. So they're going to look at this game and maybe be like, oh, we're kind of close. Like maybe it wasn't that bad. It's like, nah.
No.
I don't think so.
Miami came in and basically took this game. Good.
Oh, nice to see Kyle Lowry have a bit of a resurgence, though, for even in a loss, I thought.
Sure. Yeah. I mean,
it's like it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. No, it was good to see. He threw in some absolute BS.
The flopping, man.
I mean, yeah. Oh, yeah. The who was it that he like grabbed and literally pulled down to get the foul? Hey, now as a guy who has Marcus Smart on the team that he covers, I am very well aware of the tricks of the trade. So I'm not going to cast judgment, but yeah, he had some good ones in there too.
There are a couple where he flew literally from like one sideline to the other, and it's like, all right, man. Look, I'm glad your 3-point shot's falling. I'm glad you look alive here for all the money that they're paying you. But let's cut that out.
Yeah, but he was a -12. So for all the stuff that he did, he was also on the floor for the worst of this game. So Miami's got some things to figure out here in short order. Meanwhile, the Celtics are gearing up for a series against the Hawks where it does not look good for Atlanta at all. This was, I tell you what, everybody in Boston is celebrating this outcome because the Hawks, I think this is going to be a sweep. 5 games at best. I pulled some of the numbers. The Celtics offensive rating is 8 points higher against the Hawks than their normal offensive rating during the regular season. Their effective field goal percentage is 8% better. Their true shooting is 6% better. Their assist ratio is up 5%. Their offense just hums against
And
the
their
Atlanta
offense is
Hawks
good already.
defense. It's the second ranked offense in the NBA, and the Atlanta Hawks do not have a good defense. And I think defensively, the Celtics also have the second ranked defense in the NBA, and they also know that you don't have to throw multiple bodies at Trae Young. I think people make too much of Trae Young. Like, don't at his best, he is adding 10, 11 assists to what he's scoring. In this one, he had 7. He had 7 in this one. But he's in that range. If he's the higher the assist totals, the more dangerous he is. He's not going to hit. He was 1 of 8 from 3, man. He's not the 3-point shooter everybody thinks he is. He wants to take those logo shots. Okay, I mean, I'm not saying just let him, but he doesn't hit those. He's not Steph Curry. People, I don't know why this is like the perception of Trae Young. His 3-point shooting is way, way down this season. So the Celtics, I think, understand. Just make him one-dimensional, which is easy enough to do, and they should roll through this.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So there's rumors. We got rumors. We're heading into the playoffs, and we got trade rumors that impact Trae Young directly. The Ringer publishing an article saying that, hey, the Hawks might move Trae Young. Real or fake? We're going to play our favorite game every Wednesday here next. First, today's show also brought to you by FanDuel. Hey, baseball season's back. We like baseball. Grand slams, no-hitters, double plays, they're all back. No better place to get in on Major League Baseball action, as well as obviously the NBA action, than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. That's because right now, new customers can step up to the plate with a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. Place your first bet. Get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you don't win. Very, very simple. And you can mix up your bets. You can do the same game parlays. You can do whatever you want there at FanDuel. Don't miss your chance, though, at that no-sweat first bet. You get up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. You got to go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, it's an official partner of the NBA, of Major League Baseball. It's the official partner of the Locked On Podcast Network. We just ask you, if you're going to gamble, please gamble responsibly. The Atlanta Hawks are a team in, flux. I think flux could be a good word, Jake, where, new coach, new front office, new direction. The Ringer and our friend Kevin O'Connor had a story where, quotes league sources, the Hawks could consider trading Trae Young in the near future. Quinn Snyder is the new head coach, and he has negotiated some significant decision-making power into his contract, into his job here. So let's play real or fake, Jake. The Atlanta Hawks will trade Trae Young in the near future.
So I'm a little torn on this one, to be perfectly honest. So before I give my answer here, because it may change as I'm talking about this is super weird, right? Like, that is a super weird thing to have come out literally on the day of a play-in tournament game about said team's best player, because my initial thought on this is it's fake, because this is the dumbest thing for a team to try and leak literally the day that dude is playing in a play-in tournament game. And if it got really through to him that the team said this, like, wouldn't you just throw that game completely and like spite them in some capacity? That doesn't seem ideal to me. So the timing of this seems a little bit questionable, though that could be on, the Ringer being like, we're going to run it today, when people are probably literally Googling Trae Young's name. The other part of it is, I don't know if Trae Young seems like a Quinn Snyder kind of guy. And that part makes me feel like it could be true. I'm going to go with fake right now. I just don't know what they would really trade him for, and if you could construct a deal or throw out an offer that makes sense to me, given what they also just gave up for Murray this past offseason. And I think given that you move those kind of pieces for a guy like that, you got to see this experiment through to a little bit. And also, given John Collins is still on this team after what feels like 14 years of trade rumors, I'm not inclined to believe they're going to deal anybody. So I'm going fake.
You are going very close to the Princess Bride Vizzini.
It's literally
I clearly cannot take the real in front of me, but I clearly cannot take the fake in front of you. Truly a dizzying intellect. I'm going to say it's real. I'm going to say it's real. I will say that they will at least actively.
My bad. Press the wrong button there.
I'm going to say they at least actively explore. Man, I just saw a notification. The host muted your mic. And I'm like, wait a second.
We don't even hear what you're going to say. I said it's real. We're going to leave it at that.
It. Done deal. That's
or
it.
I said fake,
done.
Whatever I said.
You said fake. I'm saying real. Okay. I'm a noted non-Trae Young guy. Okay.
Yes.
I acknowledge that he is a very good basketball player. I also don't think that he's a franchise basketball player. I don't think he's a championship basketball player. I don't think he's a guy that you can center your team around right now anyway and win. Can that change? Obviously, he's still young. He still hasn't been in the league long enough to say
literally young.
He's literally young and figuratively and whatever. But he's going to have to figure out some level of defense, some level. I'm not asking him to be, a lockdown defender, but you can't be as much of a minus as you are. You just can't. And you can't think that you're a logo 3-point shooter when you're not. He is not that kind of 3-point shooter. He hasn't been. Okay. He had one season, I think maybe his rookie season, where he came out and he hit a few of those. And now everybody just thinks because of the first impression, that's what he is. And he's not. He doesn't hit them with any frequency that tells you have to respect that. Every once in a while, he'll get hot from there and people will go, oh, whoa, there he is. He's so dangerous from there. He's not. Those are outlier games. So until he realizes who he is, recognizes that, and gets his attitude to a place that matches that kind of self-awareness, he won't be a franchise player. So it might be better for the Hawks to just say, hey, before everybody catches on, let's see if we can't trick somebody, a Minnesota type of thing. Hey, you already got fooled with the Rudy Gobert deal. Let's see if we can fool you with a Trae Young deal and go with that, and try to sucker somebody in, because I don't like his attitude. I don't like the fact that, they made one deep run a couple years ago and then he comes out the next year and says, we're bored with the regular season. I didn't like that. I don't like the coach. He's a coach killer. He's on his third coach. I don't like any of that stuff. So if I was the Hawks, I'd be looking to trade him too.
I was going to bring that up. The Eastern Conference Finals run they made in the 2021 season, that's also slightly like fluky, I think, right? They caught the Knicks in a good matchup in the first round. Then they took on the 76ers in the second round, right? And that's the Ben Simmons passing out of the layup and all of that stuff where he's just like completely that team unraveled, right? And they got real lucky winning that series with it. And then they took 2 games off the Bucks, but whatever, you still lost that series as they went on. So you look at that and it's like, oh, that team shouldn't have gone as far as they did. This is a guy that shouldn't really have much playoff success to his name and doesn't. That was the only time. And it was 2 years ago. Last year, they were terrible, right? They're likely going to get, as you said, swept or 5 games, something like that in this. So how impactful is he towards winning to the playoffs? And to your point, does he think he's better than he actually is? Let's see how he does right now. If he does poorly in this first round series, I think that's going to kind of be maybe like the book is out on him at that point.
Yeah, I just think they're gonna attack him mercilessly. They're gonna put him in every action. They're gonna put him in off-ball actions. They're gonna put him in on-ball actions. Anytime he's on the floor, there's a big old target. I mean, red uniforms are appropriate because it's going to be a big old bullseye on his back. And you can't be that bad and also be the centerpiece of a team's championship hopes. You just can't. So, yeah, I at this point, I'm going to be repeating myself. I'm either Trae Young comes back down to earth and realizes that he has a lot of work to do. He has got a ton of talent. He's an amazing passer, and combined the passing and the scoring makes him an incredible threat. But all the other stuff negates whatever he brings in that realm. And he has to, like I said, bring his attitude in check. He has to understand his limitations. He has to work on those limitations. And then if all of that comes together, then he's a guy that you can actually have on a championship team. But right now, I think everything's out of whack, and any good that he brings is not worth it. So if you're the Hawks and you're Quinn Snyder, see if you can unload him and just go in a different direction. Maybe DeJounte Murray is the guy, and he's going to work better. And maybe you keep John Collins. I don't know. But I think the Hawks, especially if they get swept out of the playoffs again, have another disappointing exit, they're going to have to start exploring ways to fix this. And I don't know that moving forward with Trae Young is the way to fix it.
Yeah, it's a team that's going to definitely be kind of like, should they trade these guys? Should they blow it up? Should they have looked to move John Collins, I don't know, harder than they did, I guess? Whatever's going on there. They're going to be an interesting team because it doesn't feel like they're going to have any postseason success this year, especially even though, they just beat the Miami Heat. Like they're not beating the Celtics. Let's be real here. They're going to have to answer some real tough questions, particularly with a new head coach that has a lot of sway with the front office and all that, and can kind of make a lot of those decisions and remake this team if he wants to, but they also used a lot of those picks on Murray. So you want assets, you got to move somebody.
Yep, it would be very interesting. So Locked On Hawks is obviously going to have a lot of that covered. Hey, it's crossover season here on the Locked On Podcast Network. As these matchups start to get finalized, crossover shows between the two podcasts, that's going to happen. Be on the lookout for those. Catch all your favorite teams on NBA, every other sport, whatever, it's all there. But we love it that you're here on the Locked On NBA podcast. So I want to thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. Watch the show on YouTube. Hop in the comment section there. Tell me if I'm way off base or if Jake's like on the money. Whatever you want, hop in the comment section there. As usual on Wednesdays, I'm one of your regular hosts, John Karalis. I host the Locked On Celtics podcast. Find me on Twitter at John_Karalis.
And I'm Jake Madison, host of the Locked On Pelicans podcast. I'm on Twitter. It's at NolaJake.
Nick Angstead, Pat the Designer, got the show tomorrow. Listen to them, subscribe, and spread the word. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On NBA podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.